Hello everyone. From this video, I will start talking about chapter 12. And for chapter 12, in total, I will talk a lot of ratios, but in total, I will talk about 8 large classifications, categories of ratios. So the first video, I will introduce liquidity ratios, leverage ratios, and coverage ratios. So we use this firm Q as an example, and firm Q's balance sheet is on the right-hand side, and firm Q's income statement is on the left-hand side. And the additional information are stock price is 61.625 US dollar, and the numbers of shares outstanding equals to 205,838. So the first category of ratios are liquidity ratios. The very first one is current ratio, equals to current assets over current liabilities. It measures that whether the company has the ability to pay short-term obligation, whether the current assets can cover current liabilities. So the current assets, total current assets is on the balance sheet. It's on the assets part, it's on the left-hand side. And the total current liability is on the right-hand side. We found that the current ratio is 1.02, which means that for this firm, its current assets can just cover the current liability. The second liquidity ratio is called the quick ratio or acid test ratio. It equals to current assets minus inventory and divided by current liabilities. This ratio actually measures that if we kick the inventory out from current assets because of the lower liquidity of inventory, whether the rest of the current assets, more liquid current assets, can cover the current liability of the firm. Here, the inventory is the least liquid current assets and relatively hard to liquid. It's really hard to convert inventory into cash in a very short time period. So the firm may have overestimated sales and overbought or overproduced products. In this case, they have a very large inventory number, but the liquidity is not as high as indicated by the current ratio. In this case, the firm need another measure, which is so-called quick ratio. So we use this total current assets minus the inventory, which is usually cash and account receivables, divided by the total current liabilities. We found that if we kick the inventory out from our analysis, cash plus accounts receivables can barely cover the current liability for this firm. It's a little bit dangerous. The third type of liquidity ratio is called the cash ratio. It equals to cash divided by current liabilities. So we only take a cash into the consideration because cash, if the current liability due today, we can use cash to pay it. Cash has the highest liquidity. It can directly used to pay for the current liability. So for this firm, the cash ratio is only 0.00425. The majority current assets is account receivables. This is kind of dangerous in some situations. The second category of leverage of ratios is called the leverage ratio. The first one is called the total debt ratio, equals to total liability divided by total assets. As we all know that total assets equals to total liability at total equity, which means total liability equals to total assets minus total equity. It measures the firm's leverage. The higher the debt ratio, the higher the leverage the firm is, implies higher financial risk. If more than half of the capital is from debt, then when the firm runs out of cash, it's on the edge of bankruptcy. So here, the total assets is on the left-hand side of balance sheet, and the equity, which is on the right-hand side of the balance sheet and on the bottom. So in this form, the total debt ratio is 0.586, 85%. 50 equals to 0.586. It's a 58.6%. It's more than half. The second leverage ratio is called the debt equity ratio. Debt equity ratio equals to total liability divided by total equity. This is more like a term structure of the assets. The portion of firm's assets that are financed by debt instead of relative to the total assets, is relative to the value of shareholders' equity. So again, we have total assets and the the common shareholders. This is common shareholders' equity. So it equals to 1.42. The third type of leverage ratio is called the equity multiplier. It equals to total assets divided by total equity. It again measures financial leverage. Companies finance their operation with equity or debt. So a higher equity multiplier indicates a larger portion of assets financing is contributed to debt. So the equity multiplier is 2.42. And we need to know how to convert between equity multiplier, debt ratio, and debt equity ratio. So equity multiplier equals to total assets divided by total equity. And we can rewrite total equity as total assets minus total debt. So we can divide by total assets for the denominator and the numerator. And then we can find the total assets divided by total assets equals to 1. One number divided by itself equals to 1. And the total debt divided by total assets, that is the total debt ratio. So equity multiplier equals to 1 divided 1 minus total debt ratio. For firm Q, equity multiplier is 2.42. Total debt ratio is 0.586. So if we use 1 divided by 1 minus the total debt ratio, it will equals to 2.42. It's just equals to the equity multiplier. Switch between equity multipliers and the debt equity ratio is also required. So equity multiplier equals to total assets divided by total equity. And we can rewrite this total assets as total liability plus total equity. We can separate that. So the first term is total liability divided by total equity. The second term is total equity divided by itself. It equals to 1. So which means equity multiplier equals to debt equity ratio plus 1. So for firm Q, equity multiplier equals to 2.42 and debt equity ratio is 1.42. We found this relation holds. Debt equity ratio plus 1 equals to equity multiplier. The third classification or category of ratios is called the coverage ratio. The first is called the times interest earned, or interest coverage ratio. It equals to earnings before interest and tax divided by interest payment. It measures how well a firm has its interest obligation covered by its earnings before interest and tax, or it's like cash generated by the operation. So the information here is from income statement. Earnings before interest and tax is this number, and the interest expenses is 42,000. So we found the times interest earned is 17.6, which means this company can cover its interest obligation pretty well. The second coverage ratio is called it is the cash coverage. It equals to earnings before interest and taxes add back depreciation divided by interest. The reason is that depreciation is only an accounting number. It's not a cash outflow. And the times interest earned ratio is based on EBIT. It's not really a measure of cash available to pay the interest. So we deduct this depreciation out. All the information are from income statement again. So we found out that for Firm Q, the cash coverage is 24.95. Again, it shows that the firm generated enough cash to pay its interest payment. I'm gonna stop here for this video, and the next video we will keep talking about other classification of ratios or other types of ratios. Thank you for watching.